You being so good, baby. We're just about done. So, the 2 frames have been made. I learned a long time ago to shoot first, film second, or even third. So I'm gonna go back down here to our spot on Little Swan Creek. Hopefully I won't kill myself here. Oh, and the Crocs player. Have to collect the tripod, and before I do, I want to explain the shot, so to speak, or the shots rather, from the actual tripod position. As you saw, I've shot more and more vertical landscapes and nature photos with the 8x10 than I have horizontal. It's just something about the format. Maybe it's the 3.2 versus the 4.3, I don't know. But yeah, a lot are vertical, and this is our position. I used quite a bit of rise in the front standard, that is putting more of the foreground into the frame. I tried a little bit of rear tilt, a little forward tilt, to try to enlarge the base of the tree. I ended up going just back to 0 on that. So essentially more or less a straight on shot with Winston, aside from that front standard rise, a good bit of front standard rise. Of course, we were exposing for essentially the highlights, that band of bright light on the top of the tree. I metered at 50. I shot one at 4.5, one at 5.6. Both essentially at the same automatic shutter speed of that Packard number 6. Hopefully it worked. And that's going to put us somewhere around the 1/40th, 1/50th second mark. Even though the meter for the highlights was showing around 1/60th, I sort of split the difference between the highlight and that foreground shadow on the portion of the tree that was nearest us. As far as development, of course, we were shooting that AGFA radiographic film. Again, I rated it at 50 for this. As always, I'll be doing a tray development with that film by inspection. I'm probably going to pull it back just a little bit. I've got a feeling this scene is going to do much better with a softer fill. We shot those incredibly shallow depth of field. We shot those incredibly shallow depth of fields. We shot those incredibly shallow depth of field selections. And I think that is just going to add a bit of softness to that overall dreamy quality that hopefully we're going to have going here. Will GoPro let me do this? You can see this is going to be a little longer vertically than our finished frame, but you should get the idea. That's all she wrote. Alright, so I was going to go ahead and try to rush through everything, develop those 4 sheets of 8x10 tonight, but when I came in, one of the campground attendants was parked right in front of the main hydrant up here, and I need to fill up Bruce's big 8-gallon water tank for our darkroom water supply. So I'm like, who knows how long it's going to be. I thought I'd just hold off till tomorrow. What I'm going to do, crush up our vitamin C, that's our ascorbic acid component for our caffeinol developer. One of the most eco-friendly, one of the easiest, one of the most versatile developers that you can make yourself. It's nothing but cheap, freeze-dried coffee, vitamin C, ascorbic acid, and sodium carbonate or washing soda. And I've got all of that. So instead of just sitting around here, I'm going to crush up the vitamin C and just put that in the bag so I don't have to crush it up each and every time I want to make a developer. And then after that, I've got our gallon of distilled water, and I've got our good old Kodak fixer here that we picked up from the drugstore today. I say again, the whole order to an Amazon hub, pick it up from wherever you are in the country, that's gold. And that also means that the Sleepy 66 and the On the Left photo book, the signed photographer's copies, those will be on the menu again very soon. Probably do that a third at a time. And there we have it, 100,000 milligrams of pure home rendered ascorbic acid, or as my more medicinally inclined viewers might know it as, 100 grams. 1,000 of these, a kilo, for more street conscious friends, 1 key. Now that I think about it, I really need to start labeling these bags. So that mischief is managed. Let's make up our fixer. And to do that, I have, of course, 1 gallon of distilled water. Since this makes a 1 gallon batch, I'm going to mix it right in the jug and keep it. I wish I didn't have to mix everything up at once, but I think in the long run it's just going to be a lot more simple. Now, if you noticed, I've already poured quite a bit of water out of this jug. I'd reckon that's somewhere around a quarter, maybe a third. I put it in Leia's bowl. The reason for that being, if you just throw all this volume of powder, or could be liquid, into that jug full, there's no way it's going to hold it. So, word to the wise, if you are mixing in said container, wherever whatever your water comes in, always pour a good bit out first, and always pour out more than you think you need to. And essentially use the bag as a funnel to funnel that into the water. Boop. And boop. No need to be nervous. Try not to inhale this kind of stuff, folks. I'd like to point out, this is not rapid fixer. Usually with rapid fixer, it's 1, maybe 2 minutes for your film and your prints, unless you're using Burger Pancro film. Anyway, this is going to take about 10 minutes or so to fix our film when we do it tomorrow night. So it's actually good. I'm going to go ahead and mix this up, and we'll have a nice 24 hours at least to mellow out, get good and dissolve. That way it'll be a little bit, hopefully, more fast acting, because man, 10 minutes versus the 1, that's nearly 10 times as long. Man, really good mix job on this Kodak powdered fixer. Good for you, Kodak. I was just remarking to a new friend that I met the other day here in camp about my notoriously loathsome luck. And they threw a curveball at me. They asked me to give an example. And I really didn't have many offhand because it's so, I guess, commonplace for me now. But anyway, if you happen to be watching this, case in point, I tested the pump for our darkroom water supply before we came out. Working fine. Of course, this is the original switch, or the original plug rather, attached to the switch that's always been on there, even with the Mark I build. Anyway, apparently at some point it decided to break, and just before I was getting ready to develop those 4 sheets of 8x10, filled up the tank, plugged it in, switched it on, nothing. So when I took it apart, I was met with this. Now folks, when it comes to the actual wiring of these little 12-volt plugs here, I'm not going to lie to you, I don't know that much. But it's obvious, this little piece of plastic broke off the bottom, and that held in the negative wire for the plug. The order goes from the wire, I assume, from the wire, a spring, the fuse, the little end nipple here, and then this other little side wing. And when that all depresses, I think it makes contact right here, completes the circuit, and then the magic happens. The pump should come on. And without this being held static by this little piece of plastic here, it's just going to be impossible for that to happen. I've actually went ahead and reordered one of these, and hopefully it'll be in here before too much longer from Amazon. However, I'm going to try to get this to work. We're still going to be developing today. I'll just use the little shower, a 5-gallon shower bag. I'll go refill it. It's not going to be ideal, but hey, at least this is going to get the job done. That is of course, unless I manage to pull a MacGyver and fix this bad boy right here, which I think I'm going to be able to do by just putting some high grade super glue, extreme glue on there, and then taping it up, letting it set for about an hour, and then putting everything back together. But like I said, we shall see. It's been about 3 or 4 minutes. This is our supposed fix. Got to hand it to this Loctite Extreme glue. Already bonded up pretty well, enough so that I'm going to attempt to slide that little guy right up on there, that retainer, screw it in. Then it's going to go in this order. Going to put our little slider in, then our spring, then our fuse, then our little, nipple, then our distal retaining cap. All that together, and I'll let this set up, like I said, about another hour as I get absolutely everything else ready to develop. So if it doesn't work, we'll just go fill up the shower bag and, cook. All right. It just feels so jiggly. Let's see. You can tell it's drawing power. Well, not wholly unexpected, but hello baby. Leia's been feeling better in the car with her little hurt foot. I know. Jokey baby. Yeah, not altogether unexpected, but that didn't work. Hooked to the car, so I'm going to make a little trip up here, fill up the bag, and then we'll get to developing. Had to upgrade our stirring stick. And I will, of course, filter this, guys. Don't get your panties in a wad. In goes our happy little coffee. Now. And generally, I go by viscosity and smell. I know that's not very scientific, but it works for me. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Gonna top this off to 500 milliliters, let it sit for about 5 minutes, and then filter. And now we filter. Oh yeah. Oof. Some big chunks in there. Beautiful. You don't want any of that, buddy. So there we go. 500 ml caffeinol, 500 ml plain water. I already tell that's going to be a good cook. A little nut brown for good measure. Now I know for sure one of those sheets is going to be overexposed, so I'm going to pay close attention to the development on one of them. I can't remember which one it was. And probably pull that one back a tad. And then the other three, you know.
I know. I'll be in the darkroom for a minute, baby. You joking.
Leia's gonna leave beside herself, but let's go through a quick what have you before we get on with the how do you do and go dark or red for that matter. And speaking of, that's why I have the red, fixing to be red, there we go, on the headlamp. Instead of hooking up the safe light, I want to save as much power as I can with the blue eddy. So yeah, that's what we're doing. Of course, got one fan rigged up. I think that's gonna be plenty for us. It's not that warm. Developer, the caffeinol, stop, plain water, and Kodak fixer. Usually I go with a water bath in between the stop and the fixer just to preserve it, but let's face it, folks, probably gonna be getting rid of that fixer before long anyway, so what's the use? Yeah. Anyway, she looks okay. Let's go dark. Go with the door. And that's pretty dark. And then we'll go with our curtain. This just velcros up. Like such. So, any light that you see coming around the edges here, it's one of the perks of this whole thing. The Hive being, I'm just turning circles there, being red exterior, that is more or less getting absorbed and anything orthochromatic if we're printing or if we're working with our orthochromatic radiographic film like we are here. Take that down a little bit. It should be okay. Now color film, anything high ISO, definitely be doing this at night. That's what I designed the Hive for, to be used at night, but under the circumstances really just want to you know, get this done. So yeah, I'm gonna set that on the GoPro, try to film a little bit as we go, but the development is going to take paramount importance. So hopefully we'll come out the other side with 4 sheets of developed 8x10. First of all, my battery went dead for my fan, so I'm stuck in here for about another 8 minutes, and it's a bit like a sweat lodge in here. Now secondly, I am well pleased. The 4 sheets of 8x10, they all have a manifest image on them. They all actually turned out. 2 I'm probably really pleased with, just in terms of density. That's actually 1 from each scene that I shot down there at Little Swan Creek. So, you know, that's a win in my book. Unfortunately, I realized that I forgot to put the plexiglass sheets in the bottom of my trays before I started. That x-ray film is monumentally soft in terms of emulsion, so it scratches really easy. Fairly certain that there are going to be a lot of scratches on there, but hey, sometimes it just adds character to it. The other thing is, I hope that the ribs in the bottom of the trays won't leave any development streaks. That's another reason why I put plexiglass in there. I didn't let them sit at all. I was full agitating the entire time. So I don't think that's going to be an issue, but like I said, we'll see here in just a minute. I did find the sheet that I know I overexposed. I pulled that back, and like I said, I think maybe fingers and toes crossed in the Crocs that yeah, it may be okay, but we'll see. Jesus, we'll see in about another 6.5 minutes if I you know, of course, can survive that long in here. Should look kind of sinister. All right, I went about close to 5 minutes over on that last sheet, so that's monumentally overtime as far as fixing for the previous 3, so I think we're going to be okay. Time to go back out into the world here, get some fresh air. Dear God, it's like being born. Yeah. Well, now, isn't that a sight of just incomparable loveliness? 4 sheets of 8x10, drying beautifully. Tomorrow it will be dry, and we'll get to really have a look at what we got here with Winston and Meriwether Lewis. Of course, I guess I could do a little sneak peek